you. Mr. Cole from Oklahoma, recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to make a quick corrective point to my friend, Mr. Van Hollen, who I regret is not here, and then I want to turn to the witnesses. But actually, the Republican Appropriations Committee spends more money on the NIH than the president actually asked for this year. The Republican Senate actually spends yet more money than we do, or has requested more. And the last time the NIH was really appropriately funded was when, under Newt Gingrich and John Porter, they doubled the budget for the NIH, Republicans, while they were actually balancing the budget. So pretty remarkable achievement, but national funding hasn't been, quote, slashed by Republicans for basic research. Anyway, I actually want to now turn to all four of you, and I'm going to begin with you, Ms. Blair, and just ask you to work down the line. We have a new president in 18 months. That new president will walk in when the deficit has been declining for a number of years, but our own CBO tells us that that's going to reverse just about the moment that president, whoever it is, comes in the doors. A deficit's going to begin to go back up because of snowballing entitlement spending. So that president probably going to have to do something within the first term, literally, or try to run for re-election with a rising deficit, something I think they wouldn't do. So if you had an opportunity to talk directly to the next president of the United States, what would you tell them they should do? What specific policies should they enact to deal with the budget situation that they're going to confront?
Yeah, my biggest thing, I would say, not to be afraid necessarily of re-election, and I face it just the same as everybody else in this room, that you're afraid of enacting a certain policy because of what the numbers will be in November when you're being elected. But we can't be worried about that right now. And I mean, it might have to break a couple hearts, but my generation, I personally, with Social Security is the biggest one, reforming it. I mean, you need to keep the promise to, say, my parents, but to my generation, I think we would be more accepting with slashing the program if that even was a possibility, or really changing it. And yeah, it's going to bother some of the younger Americans because we're going to be paying into it, or we create a whole new program, but something big needs to happen. And I think the biggest thing is not to be afraid of the results that could happen from it.
Okay, Mr. Meyer?
I would say they need to look long and hard at what's coming down the road. In 2050, when people born today are going to be working, when they're going to be working their way up the career ladder, they're going to be paying almost a third of their hard-earned incomes just in the payroll tax. Is that the kind of America that president wants to pass down to future Americans? So I think what they need to look at is a question of cutting home your take-home pay before all other federal taxes, all state taxes, property taxes, everything else. You're losing a third of your income. That's something that I don't think Americans are going to be okay with, and the sooner that they've started to wake up to the reality that our health and retirement benefit programs are broken, and now they're waiting for more people in Washington to be able to get the political capital to push these needed reforms through.
Okay, Ms. Vallis?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. Historic levels of income inequality pose arguably the greatest threat to our economy of anything right now. And as a result, I would advise that new president to take stock of the fact that income inequality slows income growth not only at the bottom, but also dampens economic growth writ large. And as we have a shared priority of not only restoring the trust for millennials, but also enacting policies that are going to ensure economic growth at the levels we'd like to see, I would recommend an agenda that includes creating good jobs and pathways to good jobs, boosting wages, such as through raising the minimum wage, ensuring an adequate social insurance system, work-family policies, such as paid leave. We're the only developed nation that does not have paid leave, and as we've discussed extensively today, ensuring access to higher education.
Right. Mr. Bear?
I have three maybe more non-traditional ones. First, once a week I'd send the White House staff out of the West Wing, out of the EEOB, to work with accelerators, incubators, co-working spaces. We need to be around the people that are creating things, remember how that works. Number two, Reagan said personnel is policy. I want this next president to have binders of millennials. We should have at least 50% of the next White House staff be under the age of 35. And the last, I think he or she should set up a Periscope account. It's a great way to be honest and transparent with people about what you're doing, who you're meeting with, who you're talking to. It's a great way to get feedback.
Well, I just have a few seconds left, but in closing, let me just commend all of you. One of my great complaints at town hall meetings is nobody asks me about Social Security unless they're over 60 years old. And the people that need to be the most concerned are indeed your generation. So thanks for coming here and sharing some really thoughtful ideas with us today. Yield back, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, gentlemen.